All right, welcome to my backyard. This is my shop. It is a Quonset hut that is 40 feet wide and 20 feet deep. I have an entire video documenting the whole process of the build that you can check out on my page. But for now, I want you guys to see the inside of the shop and see what I have going on in there. Okay, so when you first walk into the shop, you're gonna immediately notice my plywood storage here. This is vertical plywood storage. I have it sitting on this bench down here that is mounted to the wall, and it also is at a slight angle, which will help with leaning all of the material up against the wall. This thing can hold up to about 30 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood, which is fantastic since I'm mostly doing cabinets and built-ins. And then I also added this chain here just for extra safety since I do have littles running around here from time to time. So the way this works out for me is that I'll lay out a piece of foam insulation on the ground here, and then I can just pick up the wood and just drop it right on the floor, and it makes it super easy for me. It's just the way that I like to do it, as opposed to carrying it over to the table saw, etc. I don't even like putting it on the workbench just because I find like that I have a whole lot more ease of movement having it laying down on the floor. I'm just a floor worker. That's how I like to do things. Okay, immediately next to the plywood, we've got two 4x8 double doors which open up out, which is wonderful because it saves me extra space from having to open anything in. And also I can back up my truck, bring it right here and unload my plywood and put it right there without having to carry it far at all. Or if I need to store my hardwood lumber to the right, I can do so right there. So that makes it super efficient. Plus, I love being able to open up the doors during the summertime and in the nicer months and just have a lot of airflow in here as well as visibility outside. It makes it for a really nice work day. Okay, here is my Glamour Space. This is the prettiest part of the whole shop, if you will. I've got my miter saw and I've got my firewood storage cutoffs. And anytime I have some longer pieces, it's just a feed roller. This is the worst miter station I've ever had, but that's okay. At some point I plan on building a miter station. I just have had to prioritize other things for now, but it works just to break down material and then move it over to where I need to go. Okay, so as I was building the shop, I was definitely thinking in my mind how I wanted to do my shop layout, and one of the things that I really wanted to add was a big assembly table since I was going to have this big open space right here. So this is what I built. It's a 4x8 assembly table. And it has a total of 20 drawers all the way around, a set of smaller ones, medium ones, and larger ones. And there is T-tracks on the top of it, which is great for the hold-down clamps that I can use to hold down my face frame parts while I'm screwing them together. It also has clamp storage on the other side here, so all my F-style clamps go on this side. And then on the other side over here, I have some storage for my dust extractor, as well as a few sustainers, etc. This whole assembly table has been a workhorse for me. I absolutely love it. I don't think I would change anything about it, other than I'm due for a new tabletop at some point. But I absolutely love it. And if you're just wondering what all this stuff is up top here, I'm currently in the middle of a youth woodworking class that I'm teaching, where we're building a somewhat Japanese style tool caddy, and yes, there will be a video about that whole class, so stay tuned for that and be on the lookout for that. Okay, so right here is probably my favorite part of the shop, and that's my tool wall. I love having a tool wall. It's one of my favorite things. It's super functional. It also keeps tools in their place, and if there are any tools that you may not use a ton but you like the look of them and want to display them, you can also do that. But otherwise, it's just really functional. It takes a little bit of time to get it all together because there's some of these pieces that have holders that are built specifically just for that tool. But it's so worth it in the end. It looks nice. It kind of keeps everything in its place, and it's just so useful and functional. So I love having a tool wall, and I always will have one. Okay, so for the work that I do, which is primarily cabinets and built-ins, I would say that I have a pretty modest shop. You don't need to have the biggest, most expensive tools to do the work that I do. That said, I do like to splurge every once in a while, so some of the tools are pretty new, and some are old, and some are not the most high-end, but you can do a lot with the tools that I have. So let me just show you a few things in here that have worked really well for me. Okay, so this is the Flexzilla 30-foot air hose reel. I have this centered in my shop, which is 40 feet long, so I have 20 feet going left or 20 feet going right, which is all that I need for this. Just hooked up to a regular 6-gallon air compressor, and most of the time I'm using it to blow off any dust around me or to clean up a little bit, or if I'm using it for nail gun or staple gun or pin nail or something like that. But I love having this to retract on me. I used to just have my hose just coiled up around there, and it just never looked clean, and this keeps it nice and tidy and mounted to the wall, and it just swivels back and forth. It's a great little thing that goes a long way for me. Okay, this is my joiner. This is the JJ6 by Jet. It is a 6-inch joiner with the long bed, so I think it goes to 52 inches. I used to have the Craftsman version of this that was, I think it went like 46 inches. So once I upgraded to this, it felt like a world of a difference to go up to the longer bed. That's just because I've been, I guess, surviving with a small joiner compared to some of these other longer 76 inches. But I like it because I don't have to upgrade it to 220. It's just a standard outlet. And I also don't want all this. I don't have a ton of space. So this is this is my favorite spot for the joiner to go. So yeah, this joiner works out great for me. It's just a straight knife. It's not a helical head. But that's okay. If I ever want to, I can upgrade. So yeah, that's my joiner. Okay, so this is my Jet 1020 drum sander. It's the smallest of this line of drum sanders, I believe, and it works great. I mean, I'm just using it for small parts like stiles and rails for cabinet doors, as well as face frame parts, but it does the job. I wouldn't be running any tabletops halfway through. I don't even like to, even though it's open on each side, so technically you could run something 20 inches, one side on the other, and then one side on the other. But I find that that's not really the most effective use of a tool like this. I'd rather just use a hand sander at that point. I really just like it for getting a consistent thickness and sanding off any milling marks that I have from the previous 2 machines. So I like this. This is also one of my newer tools that I'm enjoying having this year. Okay, so here we have my mini Rikon 10-inch bandsaw. It has, I believe it or not, has done some pretty significant cuts for me. I've cut some 4-inch thick white oak on that saw. So long as you have the right blade, you take your time, you're nice and slow. Not the most effective and efficient saw for that kind of cut, but it does work. So, but it's really nice for little small parts. At some point, I'll have to upgrade and get a bigger bandsaw, but that's how I feel about so many of my tools, and that's okay. I also behind me have the Harbor Freight lathe, which I don't use nearly as much as I would love to use it, but I love having it. So I'll never get rid of it because when I do get the chance to use it, it's a total joy. Here is my dust collector. It's a 1.5 horsepower dust collector by, I guess, Penn State Industries. I bought this off of a friend for like $50 because it was broken, had a few different parts that I had to fix and put back together, and it does everything that I need it to do. It's my first and only dust collector, so in some ways I don't really know any better. I'm sure I'm gonna feel like, what was I thinking owning this thing at some point, but no, I love having this thing here, and I have hoses going on to the left and to the right around for all of my tools. One of the problems that every woodworker faces is what to do with all of your excess sawdust. The answer is simple. Get yourself some chickens. I'm dead serious. They're so useful. All you got to do is just dump your dust into your chicken run. They'll kick it around. They'll break it into the ground. They'll poop on it. And then when the time comes for spring, you can just scoop some of it up, and it makes an excellent source of compost for your garden. Okay, here is my Delta contractor table saw, and this is also on wheels, so I can move it around. I like having it stored up against the wall because if I have the fence going over right here, I'm never going to go past that section. I feel like if I have it standing in the middle of the shop, I have all this space that would be eliminated. So I like having it against the side like that. That way I can have a whole bunch of space on the other side. This is one of my older tools. I've had this for almost 8 years. This is like the first nice tool that I bought. It has a cast iron top. Of course, I look forward to having a heavy duty cabinet saw at some point. That will happen someday, but for now, this is definitely doing its job and doing what I need it to do. And as an outfeed table is my first workbench that I built in my garage. And it's kind of Roubaud inspired in that it's just a heavy duty, thick ash bench top with some dog holes. So I will use it with some holdfast here and there, which I like doing. But it's just nice and sturdy. It's also in casters, and I get to move it around anywhere that I need it to be. And I just don't see a reason to get rid of it. I really enjoy it. Also up here, you'll notice that I have a few parts for a new router table that I am currently building that I should have here next week. But I've got a Bosch router and a Jessam Weekend Warrior router table with the router lift too. So I can't wait to have that. I'm really looking forward to making my cabinet doors using a router and brand new brand new Freud rail and style, shaker style, tongue and groove bits. So looking forward to making cabinet doors with that. That's going to be a nice addition to the shop. Okay, so when it comes to working on a job site, this is what I like to bring with me. I've got the DeWalt Tough System 2.0 modular toolbox, and it has a big toolbox with a big opening to carry my drills and multi-tool, that kind of stuff, along with a fastener box that I can bring all my different size screws and dominoes and even extra hinges, that kind of stuff, along with a backpack that I can also clip into the rest of the toolbox. So it's really nice and easy to use, and there are other boxes out there that I can add to this with drawers, etc. For now, this is all I need, and I enjoy using it.